a stand-in for sand, silt, and clay, the mineral substrate of soil, which is basically just broken down rocks. Okay, when we learn about soil science, we often learn that soil is made up of certain amounts of sand, silt, and clay, and then you call it this kind of soil or that kind of soil. But without any life, this sand, silt, and clay doesn't actually have a real structure. These particles don't have a relationship to each other than that they are piled on top of each other in whatever way they got there. If a wind comes along, these blow away. So, but let's see what happens when we rain on soil, on sand, silt, and clay without any biology in it. This is what soil will revert back to when we mistreat it. And this is what soil starts as before it becomes soil. So who would like to make a rain cloud? Really? All these people and nobody wants to make a rain cloud? Okay, no. So just poke some holes in the bottom of that cup. Okay. And I want you to imagine a room of 150 ranchers in Kansas all making rain clouds at once. Well, now we need to find God. Who would like to do that? Donnie, I think you're good. You are to me.
High expectations.
Okay. So you get to pour the water into the cloud. And
From
which
altitude?
Feel free to stand up. Well, probably we have nice oriental rugs here, so we'll stand up so you can see. Move over. Okay, what's happening to our landscape?
Running off.
Okay, the rain is running off. Is any of it getting down into the plant roots? No. Okay, and I know, there's props that are missing here. We're going to do that for our next tour.
Well, if I was really God, I wouldn't let this happen.
Okay, I think we better stop pretty soon because what else is happening here?
Okay,
we have a flood. And is the water clean? No, it's not. So what's in the water? There's soil, sediment, silt, and what else on a modern landscape is there?
Pesticides.
There's pesticides, Roundup, all kinds of nasty stuff. There's even, there's maybe, pharmaceutical drugs or whatever, right? So, if we were to put this out into a hot summer day, what would happen to that soil surface? It would crust over, and then the next time that you did get rain, it would run off even faster, right? So it starts sealing off. And that's for a variety of reasons, but part of it is that the smallest particles find their way in between the sand particles and fill it in and make this crust. What do you need to add to flour besides liquid to turn it into bread? Yeast, which is life, which is living, which is a microorganism. And it's not exactly the same process in terms of the work that's being done, but it is microbial work that takes sand, silt, and clay and turns it into healthy soil. So, and healthy soil, or the soil carbon sponge, the difference here is that these particles have a relationship to each other. There is pore space here. There are glues, the snots, slimes, and glues of life that have glued these particles into a living, breathing matrix, the tissue of the land, the mucous membrane of the land, and the little threads of life have helped to bind those together, so the root hairs and the fungal hyphae. And then all the living things that can move have made tunnels through there and passageways, so everything from Springtail up to Fritz the dog have dug holes in there so that when it's really dry you can kickstart the system. But they've dug them into something that doesn't move. So if an earthworm tried to dig through there, their burrow would collapse, right? But if you're moving through here, you have a structure within which to build more structure. It's the basic infrastructure of life. So let's see what happens when we rain on this landscape. What happened to Right
behind you there.
Oh, good, okay. So we also, because we're having a drought, we need to ask for more water. Oh, interesting, that's lemonade. Somebody's gotta have some water around here, I know we're in California, but really.
There's somebody that.
Oh, perfect, okay.
Spring water.
Perfect.
Spring water.
Okay. All right.
Do you
So-
need God?
Yeah, I need another dog. Sally?
Because I-
Oh, okay, yeah, he's back, okay.
Russ back again.
We found God.
We have faith, okay.
My job wasn't done.
All right,
God's work is never done.
That's right.
so we're gonna rain on here. Now, remember, we only got a half a cup into the other one. And what's happening that's different?
So,
Absorbing it.
It's soaking in. Why is it soaking in here instead of running?
Lots of space.
Because there's space, yeah.
There's
Yeah, there's space, there's
place to fill that
channels.
space.
And in a living landscape, this could go down meters, right? And what's happening to that water as it's soaking in? It's getting filtered, it's going through a carbon filter. Okay, so part of it is a structural filter, and part of it is a biological filter. So the biology that is living in here, that has made this thing, is also breaking down anything that shouldn't
Well,
be
you
in the
also,
water
you also have
system.
chemical attraction of various things getting bound as the.
Yes, yes, so we have a really complex system working to create clean water. Okay, and what I've found in doing this is we can do at least 9 cups here.
Wow.
Versus like a half a cup of, and we still won't have a flood. What we will have is we will have a spring coming out from under and coming back up somewhere else.
Wow.
Okay.
The water's out.
Yeah, 9 Dixie cups.
Just
but-
say 9,
Yeah,
isn't that correct?
yeah. Check it out. It's powerful, it's fun. And part of that is because it can expand, right? Yeah. Okay, so there are lots of, so this is just the beginning of what we can do with this, but let's just ask a few questions. If you lived somewhere like Vermont, where we get a lot of rain and we've had a lot of trouble with flooding, which landscape would you rather live in? The bread, okay. And how about in a place where you only got a few inches of rain a year?
The bread.
Still the bread, yeah, yeah.
Because you wouldn't want to lose what little you got.
Exactly, yes, yes. And how about if you lived somewhere very, very hot?
Still the bread.
Okay, yeah. And how about if you lived somewhere very windy?
The bread.
Okay, starting to get it, okay. Yeah. So, anyway, there's a lot more we can do with this, but we have Walter here just for one night, and so I'm gonna let him explain a lot more about what we just showed.